Okay, cool. So we're gonna go ahead and get started laying down, doing some nice breathing exercises. So, just gonna lay down on the ground. You want to get your feet at a comfortable position. You can just have weight relax through them. Taking your hips, I'm gonna twist so your tailbone goes up to the ceiling. You should feel more pressure on your low back. Your arms are gonna come up and then come down. And you want to find a point that you can put your hands on the ground and feel a little bit of tension in your chest. So if you have to open your arms out to the side to do that, that's totally fine. You just want to have your arms down, feeling that slight bit of stretching in your upper torso. From here, we're going to be doing some really nice, deep, slow breathing. So taking a big inhale, filling the belly. And then as you exhale, I want you to imagine you're trying to fog up a mirror. And really try to get all of your air out and hold that briefly. So you should feel your throat relax and a very deep contraction. So big inhale, filling into that tension in your chest, feeling your belly. And trying to fog that mirror, getting out as much air as you can. When you think you're done breathing out, you probably still got another like 10, 20%. So really try to push that. You should get a lot of stretching in your ribs, in your abdominal muscles, in your shoulders. I'm going to take 2 more of these breaths. Big inhale, big as you can, and then let it all out. Really try to fog as much of that mirror as you can, and make sure you're keeping that slight tilt to your pelvis. Last one. And now you can move your arms to a position where you feel less tension, and they can just be relaxed on the ground. We want to still keep them up, just so you get a little bit of time spent in that position. And we're going to take our focus now to the ankles. So the first thing you're doing is some marching. So point onto the ball of your foot really hard, one foot and then the other. It's up and down, trying to push, drive that ankle until you feel a little bit of stretching in your shin. Very gentle movement. I'm going to do about 10. You can continue with that diaphragmatic breathing, that deep breathing we were doing. But try not to put as much focus on it. You're trying to focus on your ankles here. Okay, now we're going to flex the foot up toward the shin. Now you're pulling your foot, trying to close that space, squeezing your foot to your shin. Trying to squeeze it. Think about that compression. Again, make sure you're still breathing calmly and deeply. The focus is on the ankles here. And now what we're going to be doing is rolling the feet out to the side. So you should feel a stretch here on that outside edge of your shin. And then rolling inwards, squeezing the feet into the ground. Should feel some of the parts of your foot kind of tense up. You don't want to be squeezing your knees together super hard. You want to think you're rotating them together and then pushing into the ground. Here, rotating them out And just gentle pressure into the ground so you feel that stretching sensation. Should feel this all the way up into your hips, primarily looking at the ankles. Where you put the focus of your mind, well, kind of change how that feels. Maybe one more of each. And then let your feet come to neutral. And now we're going to take one leg, squeeze it up to the torso. And then trying to hold your upper leg steady, you're going to push your heel away from you as far as you can, feeling that nice stretch in the hamstring and the calf. And then let it come down into the ground. If that is difficult for you to do, you can extend your other leg and hold this leg as you push. That will let you keep your pelvis nice and fixed and really work through that range of motion. Otherwise, I'd like you to try to do this keeping the legs set. So no pelvis motion here as you do that push. You're going to keep it just nicely set on the ground. Knee to chest, squeezing that down. And then extending your heel to the ceiling. Squeeze and extend. Might feel a lot behind your knee, and that is, it's good. That's where you want to be feeling this. Again, breathing calmly, giving a nice big exhale as you're pushing that leg. You continue doing that visualization of fogging the mirror with your exhales. Or one I also like is thinking that you're blowing out like a birthday candle. Well, those allow your throat to be a little bit more relaxed. They have different internal feelings, so whichever one you like more. We're gonna do one more on the left leg. And then let that come down. And now you're gonna take your feet and walk them out as wide as you can. So like heel toe wiggle and get that set. And now for most people, you're probably gonna wanna find that width that you think is the widest and then go a little further because that is usually the case. So you're feeling a little bit of tension in your hips here in this position. You're gonna take your knees, drop both of them down to one side. You're gonna feel a lot of stretching in that hip that's facing up to the ceiling. You might get some groin stretching on this leg that's down. Bring them up and then let them come over to the other side. Up and over. You can breathe in or out at either point here. So that could be the exhale, and this could be the inhale. Or you could reverse that and have yourself inhale as you come up, and then exhale as you go down. I'm a little bit more fond of the exhale as you go down because it helps generate that stiffness through your core as you rotate. But they both have benefits. Try not to allow your pelvis to rotate too much. It'll move a little bit and that's fine. You want to keep it fairly steady so that most of this motion is happening with your femur. Well, femurs. And go one more. And now here, we're going to just do a couple of these real quick. Take both your knees and drop them inwards. and then up. And then both knees drop them inwards. Again, try to keep your pelvis from moving. It's probably going to want to tilt upwards, taking your low back off the ground. You want to just keep that low back nice and steady. Okay, bring your feet back to neutral. Now we're going to move up to the pelvis and the low back. So we're going to be doing some pelvic tilting here. Grab onto your hips, thumbs towards the ground. And you're going to, with your exhale, tilt your pelvis so you can really push your low back and the base of your rib cage into the ground. And then as you inhale, you're going to tilt away, expanding your belly, creating space under your low back, almost like you're pulling your tailbone up towards your head. And then tilt to the ground, compressing downwards. You're pushing your back into the ground. Now trying to lift your hips up, trying to compress downwards. And then lift up with that big inhale. Expanding into your belly and then into your ribs. And then exhale. Pressing to the ground. Maybe one more of these. I'm gonna check the time real quick. Cool. And we're gonna move into the shoulders now. So arms come up to here. You're gonna take one hand and put it on the side of your rib cage so you can feel the muscles there. And the hand that's still up, you're going to slowly lower it to the ground. Allow your palm to rotate up to the ceiling if you need to. And you're going to try and get down as low as you can comfortably without shifting your ribs. And you're going to come back up. If that felt pretty easy, you can rotate so your thumb points to the ground. And then allow it to come down. Again, try not to move too much through your ribs. The pelvis is still tilted. You're getting a little bit of weight onto the low back. If that felt easy with the thumb down, what you're going to try is twisting. So you're trying to put your palm down to the ground. This one should feel very tight as you have some really amazing shoulder range. You can bring that up. So you want to play around with the one that allows you to get the best stretch. It should be very gentle. You should be feeling that your armpit region down your chest. Just moving back and forth with this. You want to keep your shoulder from shrugging up towards your ears. So it's staying low, pulling down as much as possible. I'm going to do a couple more on this arm and then switch. When you're doing these last couple ones, I want you to really take note of your range of motion, what everything feels like. Kind of fix that memory of this motion in your head, because you want to compare it to the other side. See if it feels different. And with that, let's go ahead and switch over to the other side. So reach the other arm up to the ceiling, put your hand on the side of your ribs. You're trying to keep it from moving. And again, starting with the palm facing the ceiling, letting your arm come down as far as it's comfortable. If you can get to the ground and up without too much tension, you're going to try moving your thumb down to the ground. Again, don't let your shoulder shrug up towards your ear. You're going to keep it pulled down towards your hips. That'll really help make the stretch. Open things up, your shoulders, your ribs. If the thumb is easy, you're going to try and put palm to the ground. And again, like I said, try and visualize that comparison on both sides. If one felt a little easier, a little less stretch. We'll do one more here, and that come down gently. And back up. And now we're going to do some body rocking. So, starting with your hips and your legs, you're going to bring it up and then rock. Boom. Trying to get up to a seated position. If you can't make it up, that's totally fine. You want to just rock up. If you get to here, you get to there. I'm trying to keep your spine extended, rocking down, rocking up. Gentle motion, inhaling and exhaling. Make sure you don't smack your head on the ground. So you want to keep your chin kind of tucked to your chest. Just gentle. Again, feeling core working, your spine rolling gently up and gently down. If you're feeling some discomfort in your low back, slow the movement down. Just work on this part maybe until you can feel like that feels okay. And then you come up a little, right? You can play around with this. You don't have to move as far as you're comfortable. We're going to do about 2 more, maybe 3 more. Okay, now we're seated up here, and we're going to roll over onto our bellies. We'll just take a second, get comfortable being on the ground, feel things out, feel the ground. Take a breath or 2, and then we're going to bring our arms up, and you're going to put your elbows right underneath your shoulders. Again, just take some time, feel this position out. You want to tilt your pelvis so you can squeeze your glutes. Your tailbone moves towards your feet. And you don't want to feel a lot of compression in your low back. You should feel nice extension all the way to your head. What we're going to be doing here is some Cobra. So, as you take that deep inhale, you're going to exhale, and you're thinking that you're trying to bring your rib cage forward in between your arms as you pull your head backwards. You're going to feel that in your upper back, your shoulder blades, and relax. Take a nice big inhale, exhale, push the elbows down, pull the chest forwards, pull the head backwards. Make sure you're holding that glute squeeze, driving your hips into the ground. Relax it down. Big breath in. Exhale, drive it forwards. Head goes back, chest goes forwards, holding that glute tension. Should feel that all the way up into your upper body, into the chest, into the neck. Feeling that tension. We're going to do 2 more of these, relaxing between each one, and then exhaling, driving head backwards, chest forwards. Last one. And from here, you're going to come down to the ground, put weight into your knees, lift your hips up, and push backwards. If that felt hard, you can move to here however you need to. That's just the way I like to get to that position. And we're going to be doing some child's pose here. So, big toes together, knees nice and wide. I'm going to twist myself this way, so you can see what I'm doing a little bit easier. Sit onto your heels, and have your heels kind of roll inwards, so you feel a nice stretch in your ankles. And we're going to put our hands down, slide the hands forwards, until you feel some tension in your armpits. And what we're going to do here is one arm moves out to the side and the other arm comes over and chases it. And you're going to feel a nice stretch in the side of your ribs down to your pelvis. And from there, you're going to walk that second arm forwards and try to make that stretch a little bit more intense. And then we're going to be breathing here, trying to expand into that stretched side. So really thinking that you're moving the ribs on that side of the body, and then as you're exhaling, you're closing that side down and trying to sink more into the stretch each time. Big, big, big inhale, stretching into those muscles, and then exhaling, closing your ribs down, sinking towards the ground. And then come back to neutral. Pause in neutral for a second. And we're going to go to the other side. Shift one hand, bring the other hand over to match it until you feel a nice stretch within your lats, parts of your low back. Same thing here. Walk the hand forward, find that extra bit of tension. And then you're breathing into that tension and then exhaling, closing down, sinking towards the ground. Trying to really use that smooth exhale we've been working on to let yourself sink down. One more. Bring your hands back and walk your fingers forwards. Try and pull your chest to the ground. Take a nice deep inhale and exhale to again pull into that stretch. And then we're going to walk ourselves back to that kneeling position. And from here, coming into a tabletop. So shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. Set nicely here. You want to gently push the ground away. And we're going to be doing some cat-cows. So taking a nice breath in. On your exhale, you're going to squeeze your hips, drive your pelvis forwards, and drive the space between your shoulder blades up to the ceiling. Inhale, tailbone to ceiling, that space between your shoulder blades to the ground, and you're pulling your head backwards. So you're focusing on those 3 points. Your hips, that space in between your shoulder blades, and your head. Sinking down as you inhale. Well, the chest sinks down. The head and the tailbone go up. And as you exhale, the opposite. The chest goes up, the head, the tailbone go down and together. Really trying to push the ground away from you. I'm going to do one more of each. I'm going to turn my timer off real quick. We're going to do a few more movements, and that's going to be it for the class. But I don't want that super loud beeping to disrupt this nice relaxed vibe we're going for. So we're in tabletop. The last movement we're going to be doing in tabletop is going to be some wrist circles. So I want you to feel your hands. You're splaying your fingers, making them as wide as you can. And you're going to push your fingertips into the ground. And from there, you're going to gently circle over your hands. I want you to really feel, so go slow enough that you can take notice of this, the weight distributing across every fingertip, across every knuckle. So you're feeling that weight distribution shifting around. So it's going to go, if you're going from your left to your right, it's going to go from your left pinky to your left pointer knuckle and finger, and then over to the right side. So you're shifting that weight. Now we're going to go the other direction. Doesn't matter which way you're going, just switch it. You're feeling it circle. As you come backwards, the weight shifts to the base of your palm and then over to the other side. Feeling it going to the pinky and then to the other pinky. Taking notice of these kinds of things and putting intention, focus into it, is one of the ways that you can improve function in these joints, simply by focusing on how they move, how they feel. And go ahead, shift out back, shake out the hands, the shoulders, the wrists if you need to. The last thing we're going to be doing for this class is some hip flexor stretching. So I'm going to start in this tall kneeling position. I'm going to take one leg, step it forwards. We're going to take this hip on this down leg. I want you to squeeze it. Squeeze it hard, so you're trying to drive your tailbone that way. If you can't get into that, lean forward enough that you can feel that squeeze, and then you can take it and then try and come back. You should feel that stretching here. And we're going to lean forwards, driving this knee over those toes until you feel a good stretch. So it's not super intense, should just feel some tension here. And then on the arm on that side, I'm going to do some nice gentle circles, reaching forwards, reaching up, reaching backwards, and reaching down. Breathing calmly, feeling that stretch in this hip, and holding that glute tension. If you feel like it's released slightly, you can lean forwards a bit more, moving through this hip until you feel a little bit more tension. I'm going to do a couple more circles. Make sure you're breathing calmly and deeply. Shoulder might be getting a little fatigued, and that's okay. And let that arm come down to rest. Pause here, take one more nice, really deep inhale. Breathe out all your air. Build that tension. And I'm going to come back up and switch legs. So the tall kneeling position, your legs come forwards. Again, find that glute squeeze, that tailbone tilt. So if you need to, you can hinge to squeeze it, pull up into that tension. And then you're going to push that hip forwards. So really try and think that you're driving through that leg into that position. And now we're going to take the other shoulder and the same shoulder rotations, reaching forwards, reaching up, backwards, down, holding the glute tension, holding your abdominal tension. As you're doing this, gently breathing. If you want to, you can watch your hand. It's kind of an interesting way to get some head movement and some eye movement in there. If that makes you dizzy, don't. Keep yourself fixed on a point. If you feel like you're going to lose your balance. And make sure you're breathing. Again, if you feel like it's released a little bit, you can move forward more, but make sure you're holding that tilt of your pelvis. I'm going to do a couple more circles. Last one, and let your arm hang. Relax. We're going to take that one nice last deep inhale, exhale. Big as you can, and then let it all out. And then come up. I'm going to stand from here. I think we got time for this. We're slightly over. I apologize for that. But, got a little bit of a late start. So once you close your eyes, we're going to feel our feet. So just send your awareness down into your feet. What are they doing? How do they feel? And breathe. Shift around your body weight. Shift it forwards. Shift it to one leg. Shift it to your heels. Shift it to the other leg. Maybe switch directions if you're going in a circle. Back and forth, forward and back. Just feeling the weight on your feet. And I want you to try to center yourself. So as you're feeling this weight on your feet, try to find the point where you're holding your body, where it feels super even. One foot to the other, forwards to back, through your toes. You're going to hold yourself in that position. I'm going to take 3 more really deep breaths to end the class. So holding in that foot position, your eyes are closed, sit still. Breathe in, expanding, and breathe out very deeply. Last one, go as big as you can. And open your eyes, check back in, move around. And that is it for today's class. I'm going to cancel the recording. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.